So we did get more clarification about the military strike in Syria that happened just a day or so ago. The U.S. confirmed that it did in fact kill ISIS leader Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Quraishi in a raid on Syria on Thursday. The New York Times or the Washington Post, I'm sorry, the Wall Street Journal is the
Take three.
Yeah, take three. The Wall Street Journal called this a victory, a foreign policy victory for President Biden amid a vexing crisis in Ukraine and domestic problems. I find that an interesting way to present this, as if the president needed some kind of foreign policy victory, and we all just agree that that is the case. There was a raid that happened. Now, the U.S. is saying that al-Quraishi detonated a suicide bomb during the raid that killed himself and his own family. When asked if they could prove that, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said they would provide every detail they can. So in the context of this previous State Department press release or press conference we just played, that doesn't feel like much to hang our hats on. I'm just going to say that without judgment.
Oh, you're going to provide us some evidence? Okay, let's do that.
We will get to it.
Yeah, let's get some evidence. I would love to see that evidence because, I mean, you think about the videos, the photos that have emerged from other news agencies that aren't tied to the United States from this raid, and you have like outside of let me just read to you from this Al Jazeera report, by the way. So here is, for instance, outside, right? These are clear impact shots through the outside of this building, right? So, and residents cleaning up the front of the shop that was damaged in this raid. A Syrian who lives a blocks away says he told Al Jazeera that his family was awoken by the early hours. We woke up at 1 a.m. to the sound of helicopters. Then around 3 a.m., we heard a barrage of attacks. We saw a house that was targeted and damaged roads. We have still no idea what was going on. Residents said the helicopters were hovering over the building for more than 2 hours before attacking it. Then they carried out a landing operation, stormed the house, okay?
I'm still so confused with we warned them to get out, but the terrorists stayed put. It's just that's the part that I can't make heads or tails of. Like,
right.
We're going to kill only this guy, everybody else get out. And then he stuck around. From the president's speech about this, he said, quote, knowing that this terrorist had chosen to surround himself with families, including children, we made a choice to pursue a special forces raid at a much greater risk to our own people rather than targeting him with an airstrike. We made this choice to minimize civilian casualties. Again, this is something I don't understand these words. We knew he was surrounded by his own family and children, and he made that choice to be with his own family. I'm not defending this man at all, but I'm just confused with this. Like, we decided to do this special force raid rather than do an airstrike because he was surrounded by his family and children, which then killed his family and children. Again, they're saying that they're calling this a cowardice move because he detonated a bomb, which they thought was a bomb vest, and killed a bunch of people around him, that he did that on purpose.
So that he had time, I guess, and they might be right. Show us the evidence. Show the evidence. 13 people died. 6 children killed during this raid. And initially it was like, okay, this was a special forces raid. That's how these people died. And maybe not. You see the gunfire on the outside of the buildings. You see the damage to the front of the buildings, right? So clearly there was fire coming from outside in to these buildings. Did anyone get killed during that? Or was it simply everyone that was killed, all the civilians that were killed were thanks to the ISIS leader putting on a suicide vest?
Now, in the Wall Street Journal, there's a quote from Bill Roggio, a senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, who studies terrorist groups. And he says that this death will have a minimal impact on the terrorist group operations. The organization is designed to survive the loss of a leader and always has a plan of succession. So if you read the newspapers this morning, it's like, oh, we really sort of handicapped ISIS by doing this. But people who study these organizations know that they are not dependent on one person's ideology. There's a great book called The Starfish and the Spider. talking about how some organizations are starfishes. So like if you remove one limb, it grows back, and they are designed to be that way. Whereas organizations, it's actually a business book, that are created like a spider, where if you crush the head of the spider, it does not go on. These terrorist groups are a starfish. They are created with a contingency plan in place. These leaders don't just like grow old into the sunset and then their ideas, die out. It is well entrenched. So how much of a success we can call this is unclear, because ISIS still exists. It just still exists.
Yeah, but it's very weakened. It was already weakened. They had really kind of gone underground to begin with, and as the RT points out, like this is what's next for ISIS. Members have been driven underground. The second leader was killed in less than a few years by the United States. The group is still capable of mounting some attacks, but really, I love when the president says this makes America safer. Like, you are now safer at night because of what we've done in Syria. Do any of us believe that? ISIS isn't attacking us in the United States, by the way. But if you pick up the newspapers, front page of like the Los Angeles Times magazine, it's like, how safe are you in Los Angeles with crime spiking like crazy? Just pick up the Philadelphia newspapers and look at the absolute crime that's unfolding on the streets of Philadelphia and Chicago and other parts of the country. So do you feel safer because an ISIS leader is taken off the map? Okay, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know if that's the case.
Yes, and I did notice a good smattering of like ISIS was trying to rise, and we just pushed. Like, let me just tell you what they were doing and what we have prevented, which may or may not be true, right? But it does seem like it's very self-justifying at this point. And I don't know one way or the other. But again, I point out that just earlier this very week, the Department of Defense said we are going to be more forthcoming about civilian casualties, and that we are going to make sure, everything is out beforehand, and we are going to work to minimize that. And then just a few days later, several women and children and other innocent civilians are killed. So we just juxtapose those pieces of news and say, okay, that's, that 90-day plan maybe should be put a rush on that.
If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, we have a membership program. For the price of a cup of coffee once a month, you can support independent journalism just by going to morninginvest.com/join.
You get access to exclusive videos, plus the ability to join and chat with us live. We really appreciate your subscription, and you are supporting independent journalism.